MGB. This is the MGB. This compact British roadster, powered by a simple four-cylinder engine, became one of the first widely produced British sports cars to truly break into the mainstream, not just in the United States, but all around the world. It's actually the second best-selling roadster ever, beaten only by the Mazda Miata, with 500,000 plus cars sold from 1962 until production ended in 1980. The surprise comeback in 1992. But what if I told you that the MGB's story didn't stop there? Because in 1992, the MGB made an unexpected comeback. Only this time, things were very different. The happy little 1.8L inline 4 MGB was gone. In its place lived something far more aggressive. Under the hood now sat a Land Rover V8, and this one change completely transformed the car's personality. The cheerful, easygoing MGB was no longer what you remembered. This new model was the MG RV8, a 90s era take on the Shelby Cobra idea. Take a lightweight British roadster, drop in a V8, and create serious performance without spending fortune. Yet despite how cool it was, the RV8 is often overlooked today, even though it was actually one of MG's most important cars. But before getting into the RV8 itself, we need to talk about the original MGB and why the RV8 even existed more than 10 years after the MGB was discontinued. Early 1960s, a changing sports car scene. The MGB story begins in the early 1960s, when British sports cars were getting attention internationally, but still hadn't fully captured the mainstream American buyer. MG, a major name in British motoring since the 1920s, was famous for building light, fun, driver-focused sports cars that didn't cost a fortune. By the late 1950s, their main model, the MGA, was starting to show its age in both styling and performance. So in 1962, MG introduced the brand new MGB. Unlike the older body-on-frame MGA, the MGB used a far more modern unibody structure, which made the car lighter, stronger, and better to drive. Its clean, simple design, created under MG's chief designer Sid Iver, looked modern for its time, yet aged extremely well. The MGB also offered more interior space and a surprisingly usable trunk, making it practical for a small roadster. The MGB became popular for several reasons. It was genuinely sporty to drive, it was nimble, it was open-top, and it was affordable for a wide range of people. It was also extremely simple mechanically, which made it easy to maintain, especially in large export markets like the United States. The original engine. Power came from the familiar 1.8L inline 4, a pushrod B-series engine producing 95 horsepower and 110 ft-lbs of torque in early models. It was paired with a 4-speed manual. While the numbers aren't impressive today, the MGB only weighed about 2,000 pounds. So it was still plenty of fun. The first factory V8 MGB. Interestingly, there was an early V8 version long before the RV8 appeared, called the MGB GT V8. It was built from 1973 to 1976. It never came to the US, and it used the hardtop GT body style. It featured a 137 horsepower 3.5L Rover V8, which itself was a revised version of the Buick 215 V8 that Rover had purchased the rights to. This was the first and only factory V8 MGB until the RV8 arrived roughly 20 years later. Success in America. Braking was handled by front discs and rear drums. The MGB's mix of affordability, sporty handling, and timeless looks helped to connect especially well with American buyers. In fact, half of all MGBs built were sold in the US, turning it into a cultural icon on both sides of the Atlantic. 1980, the MGB ends. By 1980, however, the MGB was discontinued. British Leyland, MG's parent company, believed the MGB's continued popularity was hurting sales of their newer Triumph TR7. Ironically, removing the MGB didn't save the TR7, which still sold poorly. And so, the MGB came to an end, a brand losing its identity. By the late 1980s, the MG brand had become a shadow of what it once was. Under Rover's ownership, MG was mostly attached to badge-engineered hatchbacks, and its reputation for building exciting sports cars was fading. Meanwhile, the huge global success of the Mazda Miata proved that people still loved small, lightweight roadsters, an area MG once dominated. A new MG roadster was coming. The Miata success was a wake-up call. MG still had nostalgia and credibility, but Rover needed time to develop an all-new roadster, which would eventually become the mid-engined MGF in 1990. 1995. So they needed something to bridge the gap, a car that would bring excitement back to the MG name while the new model was being prepared. Their solution? Bring back the MGB, but with a modern twist. And that became the MG RV8. Design and construction. Released in 1992, the RV8 mixed classic MGB styling with updated performance and luxury. To keep costs manageable, Rover used the British Motor Heritage Company, which they owned, who had been reproducing MGB body shells for restorations. The RV8 kept much of the original MGB shape and proportions, but it was noticeably updated with smoother lines, wider fenders, revised bumpers, and a cleaner, more modern grille. While it looked similar to the old MGB, only a small number of panels were actually interchangeable. It was more like how the Porsche 911 evolved, clearly related, but thoroughly updated. Under the hood, the RV8 was a massive departure from the old car. The simple 1.8L four-cylinder was gone, replaced by a 3.9L Rover V8, a modernized descendant of the old Buick-based engine used in the 70s MGB GTV8, now producing 190 horsepower and 234 ft-lbs of torque, and paired with the Rover R385 speed manual. The RV8 could hit 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.9 seconds and reach 135 miles per hour, a huge performance jump over any version of the old MGB. Interior and comfort. Inside, the differences were even more dramatic. The RV8 wasn't a budget roadster. It was MG's temporary halo car. The interior featured Connolly leather, plush carpeting, and a beautifully crafted wood dashboard. It felt upscale in a way the original MGB never tried to be. Suspension, brakes, and weight. The car rode on 15-inch alloy wheels with wider tires and used a revised suspension. While it still kept the traditional live rear axle, it delivered a smoother and more controlled ride. Brakes were similar in layout, front discs, rear drums, but improved. All these upgrades meant the RV8 was heavier than the old MGB, weighing about 2,700 pounds, or roughly 700 pounds more. Most of that came from the V8 added luxury and the reinforced structure. Even so, the strong torque made it lively and enjoyable. Funny enough, it still used manual steering and old-school roll-up windows, which added to the charm. Pricing and market success. Priced at £26,000, around $40,000 at the time, the RV8 was an expensive niche model in the UK, costing more than a brand new Jaguar XJ6 and several times more than a Miata. But in Japan, British specialty cars had a huge following. So of the 1983 RV8S, produced from 1993 to 1995, over 75% went to Japan. Comparing MGB production to RV8 production. When you compare production numbers, it's clear you can't judge the RV8 by the same standards as the 500,000 unit MGB. The MGB was a mass market success. The RV8 was never meant to sell in high volume. It did exactly what it was designed to do: revive interest in MG's sports car heritage and lead the way for the more affordable and very successful MGF. Legacy of the MG RV8. And honestly, the RV8 was basically a factory-built Restomod long before the term Restomod existed. It's quirky, unusual, and the idea of bringing back a long-gone 1960s platform as a flagship car is completely crazy, which is exactly why it's so interesting. If you enjoyed this video, like and share this video with other car enthusiasts. Don't forget to subscribe to Crypt for more documentary-style videos.